Hello,
Good
hello.
afternoon.
Oh, good after. Oh, yes. Good afternoon. You beat me to it. That's all. We're off to a flying start. That's awesome. I think, was that Amy who just said that? Was it? No, who was that? I'm sorry.
Yes, that was me.
Hello, Amy. Thank you for beating me. That's a good start. Well, see, now she's just done her participation for the day. She can go get an hour and a half cup of coffee. No, I'm kind of kidding about that, but no, that's awesome. Thank you. Hello, Amy. Hello, David. Hello, and the rest of you too. I'm not trying to be weird, but I am. I'm going to say, and thank you, David. Okay, good afternoon, David. So I know this is all very weird, but this is like one of my many attempts to make electronic learning more human. So yeah, any of all of you, if you either heard me yesterday or you're hearing me now, I'm about to say hello to all of you. It's something I do. It's just something I do. It's not to embarrass it, but yeah, if you put a hello or a hi or anything in the chat, then you can totally submit that for your participation for the day. It's weird, I know, but it's just to break the ice and get us going. So, and you could also say hello the way Amy just did. You don't have to. You could totally put in the chat, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about, but so yes, hello, I'm loving this. And then what I'm going to do too, just to, so you know, just to get used to all this. And of course, we're going to get to some physics today. And each day will be less of this like human weirdness and more physics. Or I mean, less explanation about the class and more physics. Each day will be like that. But again, I know this is, the first time we're all meeting, most of us. So I just want, so anyway, so thank you for saying hello. And you're going to notice too, the way I'm going to say hello now, first, I'm just going to say hello to everybody that I see in the video, just because like it's easier to see them. Then I'm going to say hello to everybody who said hello in the chat. I mean, I'm not going to repeat, but and then I'm going to say hello to everybody else. And that's just the way it is. It's just a hello. So do whatever you want with it. But okay, and we'll talk more about that. But anyway, so hello, David. Hello, Nicholas. Hello, Caitlin. Hello, Caroline. Hello, Amanda. Hello, Alicia. I think it's Alicia. Tell me if it might be Elijah. It is. Okay, great, awesome. See, it's like we're here. This I feel like we're in Westport together. Westport. Ugh. Okay. Hello, Sophia. Hello, Hamalet, which I keep thinking of. Is that, am I right? Wait. It is a J. It's actually, so Jamalet, like, wait, I'm looking if you're not, because I totally see, is that, so Jamalet. Okay, I'm going to stop.
It's Jamalat.
One more time. Sorry, one more time.
Oh, Jamalat.
Okay, Jamalet. Okay, sorry. Thank you. I won't put you through that again, even though I might. Okay. Also, just note for the record, again, we're going to talk about this, and I'm not trying to be weird. I mean, I know it is weird, but just also note, she just used her voice, right? Amy used her voice before. That takes guts. I'm not trying to call too much attention to it or embarrass him, but it takes guts to use your voice in these circumstances. So you'll notice that there is a portal. We'll talk about this again. There's a portal in the game, like one of the game participation homework things that's due December 1st. Just to be clear, one of them is called Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Chat. All these titles are just silly, okay? And the whole game thing has a certain silliness to it, but the real part of it, so don't take it too seriously and don't be scared of it, please, but do understand that the points are real. So for example, again, I'll go back to the hellos in a second, but I'm just using this as an example. Like one of the portals that's due December 1st says, Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Chat. Just to be clear, that's not a mandatory assignment. Anything in the game participation category of assignments is not mandatory. You could go through the whole semester, including past December 1st, never hand that in, and it's totally fine. You could, it's like extra credit in a sense. If you never did it, it's totally fine. But however, like today, like Amy used her voice and Jamalet used her voice. What they could do is they could just take a moment anytime between now and December 1st. It's basically saying the end of the semester. They could just take a moment, just take out that portal, and they could just like type into the thing, like, I use my voice on the second day of class to help you pronounce my name correctly. Or like, and they don't have to prove it. I'm not saying that Amy or Amy could be like, I actually said good morning, or I think she said, or like hello, prof, or something before Yaverbaum even got on the screen. Now she doesn't have to prove that. I am not saying that she needs a recording or something, and I'm not saying Jamalet needs like FBI evidence. I'm just saying like a quick reminder, a quick jot down. Like, remember that time that I did that, prof? Like, and I'll remember. Okay, first of all, I trust you. Second of all, I will remember, blah, blah, blah. So they just type that in to that portal and they just submit it anytime between now and December 1st, anytime it's relevant, anytime they want. And I get it and I see it. I'm like, oh yeah, they did. That was totally cool. And boom, 7 points or whatever number of points it is. And it's December. So all those ones that dropped into your box, I'll go back to the hellos in a second. I'm sorry, I'm off hellos here, but all of those weird game portals that have strange titles that are all due December 1st. I'm just trying to reinforce because I know this is a new system to everybody. They're not mandatory. They're all for just extra points. And when I say they're due December 1st, that just means anytime they're relevant during the semester. It's just a way to encourage a certain kind of participation, i.e. using your voice, but also last point. If Jamalet uses her voice again tomorrow, because I keep messing up her name or for whatever reason, or Amy again, then she can use the same portal again. You can submit again in the same portal. You'll get the points again. Like technologically that works and academically that works. Okay. So all of those portals that are due December 1st are just other ways for you to look out and keep tuned of, oh, whatever they are. Like one of them is if you ever submit a picture and screen share it, you can get points for that, et cetera, et cetera. And if you ever have an idea of some way that you're participating in the class, but you don't think I've thought of, but you want it to be noticed, just text me or shoot me a direct chat. I mean, which it could include, well, anyway, I'll give examples of that in a minute. Hold on, someone's coming. So it's trying to say any way that you are engaging in the class is different styles for different people. I want to give points for them and the points do add up. So, okay, so they're just that. But then in addition to that, every single day, yes, you have a responsibility by midnight you have an expectation to just tell me one little thing you did and you get 5 points for that. And the little thing could be as little as saying hello. And by the way, all of you did that for today. I appreciate it. I mean, I think actually there was one exception. I don't know, but almost all of you did submit one by midnight last night and you've gotten it back. I think hopefully check by today and you've gotten your 5 points. It's that straightforward. It's not a trick. It's just to keep us all communicating. If you submit it after midnight, but you submit it, then it's 4 points instead of 5. Okay. I'm going to go back to hellos in a second. Okay. But I'm just, again, I know I'm talking a lot about stuff like that. As the semester progresses, there'll be less of that talk and more physics talk. But okay, so I said hello, David. I said hello, Nicholas. I said hello, Caitlin. I said hello, Caroline. I said hello, Amanda. I think I said hello, Sophia. I said hello, Jamalet, because that's hello, Kevin. Hello, Kimberly. Hello, Savannah. Hello, Amy. Hello, Samuel. Hello, Shamil. Hello, Alicia. Oh, I did say Alicia, and I think I got that wrong. We'll find out. Hello, Adon. I think I'm getting that wrong. We'll find out. Hello, David. Hello, Felicia. Hello, Amy. Hello, Elizabeth. Wait. New screens. Where are we? Oh, hello, Christina. Hello, Elda. Hello, Chloe. Okay, and there's more also. Good afternoon, David. Hi, Elizabeth. Good afternoon, sorry. Good afternoon, David P. Hi, Elizabeth. Good afternoon, David K. Good afternoon, Samuel. Hello, Felicia. Hi, Christina. Good afternoon, Alicia. Good afternoon, Amanda. Hello, Kevin. Good afternoon, Jamalet. Hello, Amy. Hello, Kimberly. Good afternoon, Nicholas. Good afternoon, Adon. Hi, good afternoon, Caroline. Good afternoon, Caitlin. Good afternoon, Savannah. Hello, Sophia. Good afternoon, Elda. Good afternoon, Shamil. I love this class already. See how easy this is? Physics doesn't even have to be harder than this. And again, believe me, for those of you who pay a lot of tuition to get an education in physics, believe me, this will look more and more like physics. But I also want you to know that if you take physics step by step, it never has to be more stressful than this. I mean, maybe a little bit, but it can be broken down into steps just like this. And you'll see that today. Hello, Samuel. Oh, it is a J. Oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, that was a direct. Okay. And some direct messages. Hello, direct message people. Okay, which I do mean to respect. I don't mean to not. Okay. So hello, and it definitely. By the way, if you're here and I didn't say hello or something, then you definitely want to direct chat me, or because then that means I don't see you or something. And that's bad. Also, another quick thing about these. So we're going to get to physics in a second. Hang on. We will get to physics in a second. Yes, we will get, and we'll start using the board and you'll see how that works today. But one other quick thing before I also just want to acknowledge, like, again, I totally appreciate the people that are showing video. It does make I think it does help. It does make a difference. But again, I want to say to those people, they should not feel compelled. Like, there's a portal for that too. I hope you noticed. Like, every single person that's even shown a video for 1 minute can submit into that portal, like, the video portal, and they get points for that. I mean, it's good to have a screenshot, whatever. But again, like, I'm beginning to get used to who's, but that doesn't obligate them to keep their video on all the time. Don't think it's a trap. Don't think now that if one of them turns it off, like, we're all going to think they're all robbing a bank or something. Like, no. And similarly, those of you who haven't shown video yet, if you show it for 5 minutes at some point, that's better than 0 minutes. And then you can turn it off again. Okay. Just any day that you show it, you can submit for points. It's just like that. Everything that's good is great. And anything that isn't good just isn't good. Nothing is bad. So on that point, also, just to make clear, and please, I talk fast and say very little, which is a funny combination. But if you miss anything, please put in the direct chat or stop me, or if you're not understanding something. Because another example, just to be clear, one of those portals says avatar, I think, or tell me if I'm wrong. I think there's a portal under the game participation for avatar. That would mean like Elda and Elizabeth, for example. Like, I just want to be clear, like, that's helpful that they're showing a picture. And even if it were a picture of a Pokemon or something, I mean, even if it were, like, still, it distinguishes it from a black box. It makes everybody's life a little bit more human. It just makes things more human and helps me to, like, just think in the long term. Part of your goal in this class, in the long term, part of your goal in this class is to get me to know you somehow, some way. I could know you as a super quiet person who only communicates like through direct chatter, but somehow think of it in the long run. You want to get recommendations for graduate school or for a job or whatever. And you don't want the fact that we have COVID and we're remote learning to be a handicap for you. You don't want that to stop you from getting to make your mark as a distinct human being on the world or on me. So anything you do, even if it's quiet and even if your other classmates don't know about it, it's just like helpful in the long run. So hence, like, the app, and you can double dip. I hope I made that clear Wednesday. Today, if one person says one thing, it might apply to 3 or 4 of those portals. You could put them in all of them. It's fine. It's good. Okay. So we're going to start going over. So I'm going to acknowledge, actually, I'm going to do this one. I will just acknowledge. Let me hold on. I'm going to change my screen for a second, but stop me. I want to get to the physics and to the actual homework you turned in. You had 2 big, no, wait. Yeah, you actually had a lot due today. I realized that. And then you had a 3rd sheet that's due Monday. I'm aware of that. I'm going to tell you right now, you can see already, even though the physics course gets faster and faster, you can see by this pace, I'm not going to get to finish. I'm not going to finish going over both of those sheets today. It's not going to happen. We are going to go over both the sheets. We will, but I'm not going to finish both of them today. I'm saying that so there's no confusion and it's not a failure when we don't. I would still like you to go ahead and try the 3rd one for Monday, because it's sort of on a totally different or seemingly different topic. The 3rd thing is long. It's called train of thought. If you haven't looked at it yet, it's long, but it's mostly a thinking, like, it's not mathematical for the most part. There's drawings, there's things to read and things to write about. It's longer. You do have a full weekend to do it. It's a little bit unusual. It's not a normal problem solving kind of thing. We'll talk about it on Monday and Wednesday. Again, just do your best with it. But just to also warn you, since I know we're going to spend the next couple of days going over all of these things, there will be a little catch-up time. Like, there probably won't be a new big assignment due Wednesday. It'll probably just be a catch-up night. And we're going to talk about this today, you will have time to revise and go back and fix things and stuff like that. So there was 2 things due today, 2 quantitative things due today. I'm aware of that. And there's a big thing due Monday. Then there's going to be a little pause. But I want to warn you, we're going to go over this stuff, but we're not going to get to all of it today because there's still nuts and bolts to lay down. Having said that, let me pause for a second. I'm just going to say, hang on one second. Where are we? Okay. So here's another weird thing. So the number line, which is in effect the first thing we're going to start going over, number line. Right. And again, stop me if I'm wrong. Number line is what we're going to start going over in a minute in more ways than one. Technically, it was due right before this class. So even though some of you handed in earlier, a couple days ago, or like last night, which is great, I haven't even pretended to grade it yet or anything. Like in that sense, I pretend it's not electronic. Like it was due this first moment of this class. So I haven't started grading it or anything. Let me also remind you, by grade, I mean you can get up to 20 points on this thing, up to 20 points. If you get a 15 out of 20 when you get it back, if say you got a 15 out of 20, that means you got 15 points out of a possible 20. It doesn't mean you got a 75%. It doesn't mean you got a C. It means you got 15 points out of 20. It means there's still things that you could do better or do right to get the full 20 points. And at least on a homework like this, I'm telling you right now, you'll have the opportunity, once you know what I was looking for, because I'm going to explain that today, you'll have the opportunity to fix those things and resubmit it for the full 20 points. Okay, just to make that clear. So eventually everybody's going to get a 20 on this first homework as long as they want to. Okay, and there will be no penalties or anything like that. So we're going to start talking about what I'm looking for in these things today. And you could take notes and stuff, but please know, like you've handed in your first pass, your first attempt, so I can see what's going on. But if you're learning things today, you're like, oh, that's what he was looking for. That's what he wanted. Well, I didn't know that. Right. I know you didn't know that. So you will totally be able to resubmit for the remainder of points. It's just all of the homeworks are like practice for what we're looking for in an exam, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to quickly say right now, since you haven't gotten them back, I'm just going to acknowledge, like if you have, oh, I'll also say, if for whatever reason you haven't turned in number line yet, like it was due today, it is what we're going to start talking about today. But if you haven't turned it in yet, you still can, okay? And you won't be punished. You still can, and in fact, you should still turn it in. You can even benefit from whatever we're saying today in class. You can use that to help you do it and still turn it in. Like, don't let being late stop you from turning it in. At least with this first homework, everybody will have the opportunity and the possibility for getting all the points on it, no matter how long it takes them, as long as they try, okay? But having said that, if you're a person who's thinking, well, wait, if that's true, like, why did I even bother? I mean, you mean I could have been late and it would have been fine? Well, let me say that because of the way Google Classroom works, here's just a shout out or acknowledgement. I'm totally aware that Sam, Sophia, Lizzie, Amy, well, I'm naming the people that have gotten in on time. I'm not going to say anybody who didn't. I'm not calling out anybody who did it. I just want to acknowledge that I know, thank you. Yes. Thank you to the following people for getting it in on time. And now I'm going to look at it. And then you can redo if it isn't perfect. Sam, Sophia, Lizzie, Amy, Dave, Shamil, Chloe, Alicia, Kimberly, David, K, Amy, Caitlin, Amanda, Kevin, Jamalette, Felicia, David P, Christina, Caroline, Adon, Savannah. Totally acknowledge. I totally thank you. You got it in. Awesome. If you did turn it in and I didn't say your name, then you might want to private chat me or something, because there may be something this week. But those people, I definitely got it, definitely appreciate it. If I didn't say your name, it's not a criticism or anything. Just get it in and use today's class to help, or explain. No explanation necessary yet. So that's that. Now, same thing with average speed. Average speed, we're not even going to get to today, I don't think. But let me just see. Hold on, sorry. I believe, and stop me again. By the way, I'm just looking at the Google Classroom right now. I'm not even looking at the Zoom screen. So if you have a chat question or something, I don't know it yet. So hang on, sorry, bear with me. I'm just, oh, what am I doing? I'm doing totally the wrong thing. Sorry, bear with me. Oh yeah, average speed, same thing. And I think same people. So thank you. Yes, you did the right thing. If you got it in, you did the right thing. Thank you. I will look at them this week with train of thought. Try to do that for Monday. Last warning, and then we're going to start. Okay, there's nothing in the chat. Last warning, or last nuts and bolts thing. What I'm going to start talking about today, I'm going to start going over number line, and I'm going to talk about it, telling you like how I expect homework to be done. Again, some of you might have worked very hard on it, might have gotten right answers, might find out today certain things that I'm looking for that you didn't do. You'll do them in the future is the point. It's all about what I need you to do on exams. I'm going to start, but the warning is, everything I'm saying today applies to number line, applies to average speed, applies to all kind of quantitative problem sets that you'll have in the future of that nature, and specifically applies to exams. But what I'm saying today doesn't as much apply to train of thought. With train of thought, just make all the questions clear, show what you're answering, where you're answering it, like write as much as you can, draw as much as you can, take it as seriously as you can. But train of thought is a different type of assignment. It's not really a quantitative assignment. So all the methods for problem solving that I'm going to give you today, you don't directly have to apply to train of thought, not quite in the same explicit way. Okay, so we're going to turn our attention to train of thought. I'm going to ask one, hold on. We're going to turn our, well, yeah. Okay. So what we're about to do right now, hopefully it's clear. We're about to turn to homework 1 number line. We're about to go over it. I'm about to try to start giving the solutions and the answers so you can check the answers mentally. You've turned it in, but presumably you have your own copy in front of you. So you could be checking as you go. Please do ask questions as I go. Please again note, if you did anything wrong or you did it differently from the way I'm saying, don't take this as a criticism or a shaming. Take it as note to self and note for the future, and note that you can be prepared to be redoing this or resubmitting it if you are starting to think, oh, I bet I lost a lot of points. Don't think of it as you lost points. Think of it as there are points that you didn't get that you still could get. Okay, so it's not cheating to use whatever I'm about to say now to help you either submit for the first time or resubmit the homework. Okay, but that's what we're going to do. I'm just changing views. Can I just get, first of all, can I get an electronic hand if it's clear what I'm saying so far? If it's clear what we're about to do. Cool. All right, awesome. Thank you. That's also a sneaky way to seeing if we're paying attention. Awesome, thank you. Also, great. Also, all of you, please note, any one of you who needs to, you can count that as participation, just so you know, like you can count that as participation. But also, last question before we get going. Did you all see, I mean, it wasn't worth much. I mean, it may not have been very valuable, but did all of you see or get any kind of notification that the YouTube recording of our last class was dropped into not only YouTube, but dropped into Google Classroom? Did you raise your hand if you saw that or if you got notified or something? Oh, no, only 2. Oh, okay. Oh, well, a lot of people. Okay. So okay, okay, good. Thank you. So I'm going to assume so look out for that. Like, so that will happen. I mean, again, that first class, I mean, you'll probably never look at it again, but just so you know, that's how it works. And it'll continue to work like that. And there's even a portal. If you ever use the YouTube at all for anything, like if you ever consult an old video for any help, or you rewatch a video of a class, because if you ever use the YouTube for any kind of help at all, you can submit that for points, just because I need to know if this resource is valuable. I mean, it's risky to be making this resource. So you get points if you use it, and that includes obviously subscribing, but you don't have to subscribe, but it helps because you get the notifications, whatever. Okay, so I'm about to start going over the number line. Any questions at all before I begin going over the number line? Any issues or, oh, Chloe, or is Chloe raising? Wait, or is that just from before? Sorry, wait, where did Chloe go? Actually, wait, Chloe disappeared. Wait, oh no, she's here. So you're cool, Chloe, no problem. Okay. All right, I'm gonna assume you're, yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so we're gonna start. I'm also gonna thank. Okay, wait, I'm just changing the view. Okay. 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 So I'm going to say for every homework you ever do, or every exam problem you ever do, for every problem, the first thing you do, and the first thing I'm going to do here is you provide a diagram and a so-called fact pattern. So this is step 1 DFP, diagram and fact pattern. You'll know, and I'm going to do that right now. You notice that even in the sheet of number line, I did it. Like before you were asked any questions, you were given a diagram at the top, you were given a bunch of facts. That's the situation. That's the scenario. Some diagrams, sometimes I provide a diagram like I did there. Sometimes I don't. But either way, it is up to you, the user, the answerer, to provide a diagram. Because every physics problem, it has that sort of format. Like there's a situation, and then there's a bunch of questions asked about the situation. And the questions are usually in some kind of order where they kind of go from simpler to less and less simple. And usually, ultimately, maybe not exactly this one, but usually the questions are proceeding from something that's sort of simple and something that we can know all the way to the thing that we really actually ultimately want to know, like the so-called research question of the whole situation. So usually it's a sequence of questions that build to get to what we really, really are curious about in this larger situation. So you usually have a bunch of facts that apply to a whole set of questions. And the bunch of facts are conveyed first and foremost in a diagram. Now, maybe technically, now it doesn't have to be a technical diagram. It doesn't necessarily have to be a vector diagram or a free body force diagram or a graph. It doesn't have to be a technical diagram. It has to be a picture. But the purpose of the picture, the most important thing in the picture, is that all the labels in the picture should be referring to variables and constants that are going to be used throughout the solution of the problem. The real purpose of, so in other words, secretly, and I guess I'll say this, the real purpose of the diagram is not just a throwaway sketch. It's not just to help us kind of like intuitively get a sense of what's going on, although it is to do that as well. But what it's really about, the diagram, it's really about the labels in the diagram. The labels define the terms of the problem. So a good diagram will have every variable or constant that's ever going to be used in any of the math pointing to some picture of the diagram. And that way, this is the last thing I know, I'm babbling a lot, but a real good diagram, a real good picture will make it so that once we start solving this problem, we don't need anything else in life besides the sheet that the problem's on. Like it's self-contained. So I'm just going to write here, it's all about the labels. It's all about the labels, okay? They define the constants and the variables. So in this case, now in this case, my diagram is going to look very much like the one that was presented in the problem. That's fine. But you're going to do this too. When you submit a homework, whatever, you draw a diagram. It might look a lot like mine, but you still have to do it. You'll see as we go forward. Like you can't like literally copy and paste it. You actually have to show that you get what's going on. So I'm going to draw my Now I might even need your help. So at first I draw the diagram, okay? And again, I am expecting that you would do this when you do the homework. If you didn't this time, it's fine. You'll just read, but you get my point. So I have this number line at the front of the classroom, at the top of the sheet. You might have to remind me. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think. And this is science. So like there are units involved. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe for some straight reason in this problem, I believe the units were feet, which is fine. I mean, they're not metric, but they're more intuitive. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they were feet. And I believe there is an instructor. And whenever time I say correct me if I'm wrong, that's not just polite. I literally mean please watch, because I may be about to be making a mistake because I'm not looking at my sheet. I believe the instructor starts at the 4-foot mark. Please someone tell me if I'm right or wrong. This counts as participation. Please someone tell me if I'm right. Yes.
You're right.
Thank you. Oh, that was 2 people. Thank you.
Yes.
That's awesome. And thank you, David.
Hey, you're good.
Thank you. See, doesn't this feel so much more? Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so 4. So he's at the 4 mark, he or she. And I think she starts by heading that way. I mean, it's a he in this case because it's me, but whatever. Okay, and then okay, so far I've got some things already clear, like some things are clear from this diagram. Then I think there was 3 more facts given that I'm going to sort of try to put in my diagram. I believe in the first, so this is just informal, and you could, I'm sure many of you could figure out a better way to visualize this, and that would be good. But I believe, oops, sorry. I believe first he goes all the way to -5. No, wait, what does he do? He first goes all the way to negative. Could you remind me? He goes to -5? No, in the first, oh, to -2. Thank you. And who was that? Thank you, Felicia. Awesome. Okay. So he goes to -2. Whoop. He goes to -2. Then he comes back to +4. And then finally goes all the way to -5. And the first thing, and again, please correct me, I believe the first thing takes, it either takes 2 seconds or 3 seconds. The first thing took 2 seconds or 3 seconds. Sorry.
3 seconds.
It was 3 seconds.
3. Thank you. Great. All right. So 3 seconds, then it's 2 seconds, and then it's 3 seconds again, I believe. Right. Okay. This is awesome. You guys are totally with me. And yes. Okay. And I'm not playing with you. Like I literally wasn't sure if I could remember, but it is great that we're together. Okay. So that's my diagram. It's not artistic. I mean, it's not beautiful, but notice now I struggled a little bit there. And please also know, again, I know this is like torture to some of you, like listening to me do this. Things will get faster and faster, I promise. But also, please know, it's always going to take me longer to explain something than for you to do it, right? I mean, that's the nature of a class. So I don't expect you to spend as long drawing as I just spent talking about it. But I do expect, what I do expect is we spend a disproportionate, everything in physics, we're going to always spend a disproportional amount of time building things, setting things up, starting. The whole theory of everything, including starting this class, the whole theory is that physics, it's like an engine. We put a lot into building the engine, and if we build it really well, then it freaking runs and runs itself after a while. Like the stuff that gets really hard in physics is not really hard if you get really good at the stuff at the bottom that seems simpler. I'm really serious about that. So for example, I know I'm like, again, this is like torture to some of you, but now that I struggle to make this diagram, like, why was I struggling? Because I wasn't looking at my sheet, right? Because I don't have my sheet in front of me. But now that I've made this, I'll never have to look at anything again. All the facts are here, right? It's going to become a self-contained thing. That's kind of metaphoric for how physics works in general. All right. So the first thing I did, the first thing you would do is you would do a diagram and fact pattern. That's step 1 of solving anything. We've done it now. I'm going to pause and say, when you turn in your homework or when you turn in an exam, the first, if on the part of what I'm teaching you right now is not only how to think these through, but I'm also teaching you my grading method. If ever you turn in something or an exam or whatever, and off to the right, it just says -2 DFP, it means where's your diagram in fact pattern. Okay, this is like a rubric for grading. I think it's the best possible advice for how to solve a physics problem. but it's also my rubric for grading. So from now on, if you see -2 DFP, that's what it means. And again, as far as homework is concerned, it just means you can resubmit the homework and get those points back, at least at this stage of the game. It's not, but it's just telling you that's why you didn't get all the points. Okay, so we did step 1, DFP. Now we're going to do, so that's step 1. Now step 2, and notice I haven't solved anything. I haven't gotten an answer yet. This is a 5-step method for getting an answer. And I'm also going to tell you, and I know I'm a defensive guy. I know I sound, I'm going to now defend how defensive I am. I also know that many of you are like, oh, are you, dude, question 1 was so easy. Can you just do question 1, please, and make sure I got it right? Like, I know the answer to question, I mean, and yeah, the answer to question 1 is 21 feet, I believe. Okay, if this is torturing you. If you got 21 feet for the first question, you're doing something right, you're in the right place. And if you need to get a cup of coffee, get one. Yes, the answer to the first question was 21 feet. But let me also please tell all of you, if you've ever heard that physics is hard, and if you think that right now, I'm like, it doesn't seem like physics because I'm like over talking the easy stuff. Let me tell you that one of the big secrets to physics is that if you really dissect the parts you know, if you dissect the parts of physics that seem easy, if you tear apart what went through your mind when you get to answers that you do already know without thinking that you're thinking about them, then you will find that all the stuff that you think you don't know comes a lot more quickly. Like what, so what we're going to, so please forgive, I mean, I am being defensive here, but I'm going to keep talking about this. I'm going to show you the 5-step method for getting answers in physics. And I know full well that many of you got a bunch of these answers without doing any methods at all. I know that. I know they just came to your mind and you wrote them down. What I'm doing here is showing you what steps went through your mind in order to get those answers. They went through your minds. Well, anyway, you'll see. So please bear with me is what I'm saying. I'm showing you a method for getting answers and I'm applying it to answers that I think many of you probably are confident about. So don't tune out, like stay tuned and use this method when you're using it for something that you think is easy. You might think you're wasting your time, but what you're really doing is practicing and getting muscle memory for the times that you'll really need it. Okay. Anyway, so that's it. So now we go to step. So first you draw a diagram. Now, step 2, here's step 2 of the method, you might imagine. Oops, sorry. Step 2 is WIQ. This is super important. This is one that drives people crazy. People lose points on this all the time. Everybody hates it until they don't. But WIQ stands for what is the question? Okay, so step 2, you are like, say you were doing your homework right now. So here you have the diagram. Now the diagram applies to a bunch of different questions, as you know, so we did it once. Now you're going to question 1. Now we're going to the first question. So question 1, I believe question 1, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe question 1 of the diagram is what is the total distance that the instructor travels like by the end of the entire journey, by the end of this 3-stage journey, what's the total distance that the instructor travels, right? Okay, so I wrote that down. I typed that out on the sheet. I put it in my words. My words are, as I'm sure many of you are noticing, my words are often like spazzy and overly ornate or whatever. You're not going to copy and paste my words. You're not going to do this homework on my sheet. You're doing this homework on a separate sheet, which one of you, by the way, asked when you submit it, and I want to reinforce that you're doing these homeworks on a separate sheet, like either in a fresh new Google Doc or fresh new Word doc, or more likely in most cases, you're taking out regular physical paper with a regular physical pencil and you're drawing this all out as though it were a blue book. And then you're scanning those pages or photographing those pages in, like, and I'll repeat that again, I'll repeat it. But in most of our cases, definitely including me, to do these homeworks and these exams, I would take out regular everyday paper with regular pencil and pen because it's much easier to do math and physics like that way. And that includes me. I would be writing these things out and then I would be taking pictures of the pages and scanning them in or whatever. So I get to question one. I'm on a blank piece of paper. I'm not writing underneath Yaverbaum's type. And there's many reasons for that. I'm pretending that Yaverbaum's problem was like an exam booklet. I'm now in a blue book, in effect. But now I make clear what question one is. This is, for many people, the most annoying kindergarten thing that I do. And I am super picky about it. But I think it turns out to be the most crucial thing. What you're going to do now is you're going to make the question clear in your words, in your shorthand or whatever. You're going to make the question clear here, such as something like this, like, something like this. There's the question, right? It's right. It's not the words of the sheet. It's different words, but it makes it absolutely clear what the question is, like so clear that, right? Okay. Now there's a purpose of this. There's a lot of purposes of this. Okay. And I have stories about this. I know it seems kindergarten-y, or it seems very picky on my part. It is very picky on my part, but for you, but before we, and again, I know I'm dragging this out. Believe me, I know I'm dragging. I know you all know the answer is 21 feet. And you're like, please get on with it already. I have a life to lead. I know that. But let me tell you that in this case, where you already knew the answer was 21 feet, this is exactly the time you probably would think not to write down the question, or like you think I already know the question. Blah, blah, blah. But when we start getting to physics that really looks like what you've heard physics looks like, you will find, or maybe you already had this experience in high school, many people will follow many of these classes, will listen to me, or they say, okay, I understand what's going on in class. Like it's boring, but I get it. It's clear in class. And then I go home to do the homework, or I go home to do an exam. And the first thing that goes through my mind, is I look and I don't even freaking know what the question is asking me. Like this is a common physics experience. You might have had it in high school. People look at physics exams or physics homeworks at a certain point, and they're like, I don't even freaking know what this is asking. Like, I don't even know. And I'm a good person. I've been doing the homework. I've been showing up. I don't even freaking know what you're asking. That happens a lot. It used to happen to me all the time. It still happens to me. And there's reasons for that. But the one way to break through that wall is before getting dismayed or before diving in, to stop and be like, actually, what is the question asking? Like to be able to rephrase a question in your words is a huge, important step in things that can get as abstract looking as physics can. Okay. So first, rephrase the question in your words, put it down. You're going to put it down like this. You're going to do this on exams. And your goal in putting this down, you'll know you've done it right if you've now created a situation where now when you start showing your work and getting this answer now, what you want is me to be able to grade your homework without me having to look at a separate sheet. Right. You'll get your homework back much faster that way, and with much better feedback. Like, or put another way, you want to create a situation now where I could take the homework that you did or the exam that you did, and I could hand it to Professor Professor Walters or some other professor who knows physics but doesn't know the exact assignment. But if I handed it to them, they could just look at your work and be like, oh yeah, this makes, oh, they're trying to do this. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, they're right. You see what I'm saying? You're trying to make, honestly, secretly, what you're really trying to do is practice for publication and larger life scientific research. You're trying to take what is just a regular everyday homework assignment from like some annoying teacher and turn it into an actual self-contained little mini proof of physics results. That's what you're doing. So we're now with a question. Total distance for all three stages? That's the question. If that, I'm going to move on now. I know, again, I'm dragging this out. But literally, if on an exam or on a homework, if you start answering things, but you see -2 WIQ, it means I'm saying, hold on, I need to know what the question is. I need to know what, and I need to know that you know what the question is before you start answering it. It's not a complete thought unless it's a, okay. So step 2 is, what is the question? There it is. That's the question. Total distance for all 3 steps. So you do that. Also, side note, as this gets more and more mathematical, it'll be totally fair. If at some point in the sheet, I ask like, what's the velocity or something like that, you could just write V = question mark. Like it can be very shorthanded. It can be very symbolic and mathematical at a certain point, but it's just got to be clear and have all the information. Okay, so there's the question. I'm going to pause because my view is, hold on, I'm just going to pause. I know right now, like sometimes, cool. I was just going to ask, are there any questions? And there is a question. So good. Let me hold on a second. Yeah. So great question from a direct chat person who could totally use this for participation. And I'm not going to say the direct chat person's name because it's direct chat, but I will also say that this direct chat person also asked me a very good question on the homeworks about how to turn them in on separate sheets or not. So they're both really good questions. And at some point, I would love to know from that direct chat person if I'm actually answering his or her questions. But yeah, the question here, and that would be extra participation points. But right here, the questions is, so we would have to write the question down on an exam. Let me say that again. The person is asking, would we have to do this? Would we have to write the question down on an exam? Yes. I'm saying yes emphatically, not because it's a stupid question. It's totally not a stupid question. It's a totally important, fair question. But therefore my answer is yes. Like actually everything I'm saying today, everything that I'm dragging out about what you would do on the homework, it's all really for the purpose of practicing for exams. Everything I'm saying I want here is what I want on exams. And everything I want on exams is what you would really want, habits that you want to get into if you want to publish papers or, or submit poster presentations to conferences or whatever. Like, so yes. So on an exam, I'll just side note, because it's a very fair question. On an exam, when you get your exam in this class, it's going to look basically like 3 big homework sheets, like attached together. It's going to be like 3 or 4 big problems, like fact patterns with lots of little questions associated. Like these homeworks are just practice for what exam problems look like. So mostly exams are not multiple choice or anything like that. They're like this. And you're going to get these exam booklets like that. And then you're going to do out all of your solutions on blank paper as though they were blue books, but just like you're doing here for the homework. So again, that's such an important question. I want to totally honor it. Like, so everything I'm asking you to do here is because that's what I want on an exam. And on an exam, yeah, like even if you think I know what question 1 is on the exam, your first job after you present the fact and you present the diagram, your first job will be to write down like Q1, what is the velocity at time equals 3 or whatever. You're going to make the question back clear to me. And your goal there is so that I can grade your exam, without actually having to look at my original exam booklet. Honestly, that's not the ultimate life goal, but that makes that's your standard. If it may include all the information so that I can actually assess the correctness or incorrectness without looking at anything else. And the purpose of that, again, is for you. Honestly, I mean, I have stories about this from when I was in graduate school the second time. Like you cannot, and I'm talking, like 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, it sounds condescending. It's not meant to be. You can't believe how much like dissertations fell apart because the person writing the dissertation did everything in the world except sort of never made clear what question they were trying to answer, what the question was, or what their actual answer was. Like it all hangs on that. I mean, and I have stories about that. But so it applies to all of us. What you want to do is first make it clear to me what the question is that you're trying to answer. And you'll find that when you do that, you'll have a much better time answering the question. But so yes. So the answer, and maybe the direct chat person maybe put in the direct chat, like if I did answer or not, or you could even tell me, yeah, you answered it so much you're like a hammer to a mosquito, and like actually it was like a little over much. Could you calm down a little bit? You could even tell me that. Wait. Oh, okay. All right, cool. Thank you. All right, wait. So you? Yeah. So now Nicholas, thank you for going public. So I'm saying his name because he's going public. So Nicholas's question, this 5-step process is, yeah, ultimately with homework, this is what I want for every question. Yes. Let me be clear about this too. I mean, occasionally some questions are so short or are so verbal rather than mathematical. Occasionally this won't totally apply, but in general, when in doubt, what I'm looking for is this 5-step method. And yes, and again, if you didn't do it for this first homework assignment, I'm not saying stress. I'm telling you what I'm looking for in general in the future. And I'm also telling you, you can redo the first homework if you want to get if you get it back, I might be generous grading it. I don't know. But when you get it back, if you didn't get all the 20 points, probably it's because you're missing steps in this method, but you didn't know until today. I know that. So you'll be able to resubmit it. But I am saying to Nicholas's question is very fair too. And and I'll talk, I prefer to answer questions than for me to just babble. Like, and he's asking it very politely. Like Nicholas is asking his question. I mean, everybody so far is being very polite, but like I could imagine, there's nothing impolite about what Nicholas is asking, but I could imagine that partly in his brain somewhere he might be saying, whoa, dude, like seriously, like some of these questions were like, I mean, I just knew in my head 21 feet. Like, you really want me to drag all of this out when I just know the answer is 21 feet? And you're going to see, like, I'm dragging all this out. I haven't even gotten to 21 feet yet. I know I'm making this look super painful. You might legitimately be thinking, any one of you might be thinking, this is a lot for a stupid little question like that. I totally get that. I am saying that, yes, even with a stupid little question like that, I want you to be in the habit of doing all this. And you'll see, I will get to that 21 feet eventually. But what I want you all to realize is that if you can get in the habit of doing this, well, I'll say it more at the end, but yes, even with a stupid little, seemingly little question like 21 feet, I want you to do all this, because the worst thing about doing all this when you already know the answer is 21 feet, the worst thing is it'll take you a couple more minutes and a little bit more ink than you otherwise would have done. If it seems like I'm spending a half hour on this, that's because I'm talking about it so much. You don't have to talk about it at home when you do it. It won't take you a half hour to do all this. It'll take you a couple minutes more than otherwise, but the payoff is enormous, because what I'm really trying to show you ultimately, and we'll talk more about this, is I'm trying to show you what to do when you don't know what to do. You will get to problems in physics where you literally don't know what the answer is immediately in your brain. And you might even think, I don't even understand what this question is asking. Or you might even think, I don't even know where to begin with this. Like, he always wants me to show all work or blah, 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 but I don't even know where to begin. What I'm trying to show you is a pretty foolproof method for doing things even when you don't know the answer. But it only works if you've practiced it and see it in places where you do know the answer. And it's also very satisfying when you do know the answer. Last thing to say. So I'm not trying to be defensive. I am defensive. I'm like, you know, I feel like I have to defend the baby of mine that is called physics. But yes, to answer Nicholas's question, I want you guys to do this method like for everything. I mean, when in doubt, do it. But last thing also, the flip side, because I know it's annoying at first. That's why I'm spending a whole class period on it. But the flip side too, please understand. You'll notice I'm saying I take off points if you don't do these steps. But the converse of that is what you're getting points for is doing these steps. Notice that this means that there's tons of ways of getting tons of points without getting correct answers. That's the flip side of this whole thing. What I'm looking for is for you to do work on the homework. What I know after 30 years of experience is a lot of people will say, oh, good, I get points as long as I show the work. It doesn't matter if I get it wrong. But what happens to people a lot of time is that they don't know how to show work. They don't even know what work to do if they don't know what the question, if they don't know the answer, they freeze and they feel like they don't know what to do at all. So the system doesn't reward them. So I'm saying this, what you get points for is doing these steps. And these steps are the steps you can do even when you don't think you know the answer. Anyway, but yeah, good question, Nicholas. Okay, wait. Oh, and so now there's a lot going on in the chat. That's good. It totally shows you guys are taking this seriously. I appreciate it. So, oh, and thank you for direct typer. Okay, so that's my answer to Nicholas, but you can circle back if I didn't answer. And if I sound intense again, I am intense. I mean, but I'm not angry at anybody. I think these are totally legitimate questions. And I do sympathize. I know it looks like I'm giving you more work where you don't need it. What I'm really trying to do is break down physics for you and make it so that it actually stays this easy, even when it's super hard. Okay, I promise you this is not meant to be arbitrary, but okay, so I'm looking at the chat. So this is a direct chat thing. I'm not going to say the person's name, but I was wondering if we were writing the questions in our own words. Would we need to write the homework problem in our own words as well at the beginning of the document? So yeah, okay, sorry. So it says, are we writing the questions in our own words? Do we need to write them at the beginning of the document? So I am saying, yes, please, part of the exercise here, and it is new to some of us, I am saying that part of the requirement is that you rewrite the question in your own words. Yes, I am saying that. And as far as the beginning of the document, like, no, that's an interesting point. At the beginning of the document, you put the facts and the diagram that sort of applies to all the upcoming questions. Like generally, there are some exceptions, but generally in physics, each problem is one set of facts with one picture that embodies those facts, and then a bunch of questions. So I'm saying the first thing you do is you put down the facts and the scenario. Then for each question, yes, you rewrite it in your own words, but you don't have to do that at the top of the whole document, because the top of the whole document is probably one diagram and set of facts that's going to apply throughout. But yeah, for each question, I think I even know what the person's asking. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying each question you rewrite in your own words, but I think this might be what the person's asking. But you know how, like in number line, for example, right? I gave a diagram at the beginning, and I have this whole paragraph of my words saying first the instructor does this, then the instructor does that. You don't have to rewrite that in your own words if that's what the person's asking. In fact, the reason that you make a diagram with labels is hopefully you can get across all those facts in your own diagram. Really, often what will happen is you'll make a picture that will be better than my picture and will substitute for all of my like long language. Okay, so if you do your picture correctly, you should not have to rewrite all of my words. I don't need you to do that. I just need the facts, like whatever facts you're going to deploy, that's what we want to see. Two more quick things about that. I know, by the way, I apologize. I think I put it in the stream, but I know there was like a bunch of junk at the beginning of this sheet. That was just a complete accident. I don't know how that happened, and I apologize. And hopefully you just ignored that and you moved on, but that won't generally be there, that junk. Second of all, sometimes my sheets, when we get used to this, sometimes my problems won't provide the diagram for you. That's sort of bad on my part, but it can happen. But you still, all the more reason, like if I don't give you a diagram, all the more reason you have to make a diagram, because we need a diagram. So again, that's a really good question. Hopefully, maybe you'll tell me if I answered it. Oh yeah, and then here, okay, here's a good follow-up question from a different person in the direct chat. Here's a different person in the direct chat. They say, do we draw the diagram for each question or just once for the required questions? That's really good. You only have to draw it once, as long as all the questions apply to it, and you can keep saying, you can even, some people will do this on exams, like you can keep even writing in each question, see diagram above, you can do that. Because it is true, I'm going to use this 5 steps as my grading rubric, but right. And so some people will even on exams, they'll like note as they go. They'll say DFP or in their homeworks. I'm not saying this is required, but it can be helpful. People will like annotate their work as they go. They'll be like, here's step 1, DFP. Here's step 2, WIQ. And they're doing it partly for their own sake to make sure that they're doing anything. And they're also partly doing it to communicate to me, like, here you go, yo, don't take off points here. Totally a good thing to do, but right, what you can do for each question, you can say, see diagram above, totally. So good, oh, good, thank you for the thank you. Okay, so keep these questions coming. Please keep these questions. They're showing that you're with me. And by the way, don't be afraid if you think, I mean, scroll through the chat and look, but we're at the beginning of the semester here. We're all getting used to each other. So please don't be afraid to ask a question just because you think someone already asked it. I mean, we'll get to the point where if I feel like I've said something 14 times, I'll make that clear. And then maybe, and you'll know too, if it's like 3 weeks into class and you haven't gone to class for 3 weeks and you know all kinds of things are happening, then I would be careful about, like, then assume that maybe something's been happening that you've been missing and maybe be a little bit careful about what. But right now, I am a firm believer, nobody ever hears anything the first time. Okay, and people have to take classes 2 times and blah, blah, blah. Don't be afraid. If you think I might have answered, but you kind of missed it, it's okay to reinforce it and ask it again. Someone else probably missed it too. Okay, honestly, all of you. But so these are great questions is what I'm saying. So I'm going to keep going. And again, I know this is torturous. It'll get faster and faster as we go. But also when it gets faster and faster, I'm going to be expecting you guys to do more and more things without the explanation, because I'm going to be assuming that the engine is there. So we're building the engine right now. So anyway, all right, so question 1, total distance for all 3 stages. So I wrote the question now, and I know we have 15 minutes. Hopefully I'll at least get, so I'm probably only going to get through question 1 today, as you can see, but at least hopefully I'll get through the 5 steps, and then we're just going to cycle through them for all the rest of the questions. Like I say, it'll get faster, but so here we go. So I'm going to start answering this question now, right on the next page. I'm going to start answering this question. Well, how do I do that? I'm going to start answering it. I'm going to go to step 3. Step 3 is GDP, as in gross domestic product, but it's not. It stands for stands for general definitions and principles. Okay, this is where it gets interesting now. So step 3, we're going to write something down that's generally true now, something that is true even before I looked at this particular question. Often it will be like a definition or a law or a principle or something. Now, again, I know this particular question is really easy. Pretty simple, but it's easy. But nonetheless, what do I mean by a general definition or a principle here? Well, what I mean is this question's asking about how much distance was covered in this particular circumstance. The only way I can answer that is if I first in my mind know what is meant by distance, right? Even if you answer this really fast in your mind, you answered it really fast. You had to go through steps in your mind super quickly. The first step your mind had to go through was what is meant by distance, especially in the sheet, where as you see, eventually, we're making a distinction between distance and displacement. As you see in the very next question, when I ask what's displacement, you're going to get a different answer, which, by the way, in the next question is -9. Just to be clear, if you're trying to, right? Like the answer to this one's going to be 21 feet. The answer to the next going to be -9 feet. Those are two different answers, even though we're asking the same scenario, because we're asking two different words. So the first thing that has to be written down here, I'm saying what we first have to know is, what does distance mean? So we write down something like, okay, now this is a long definition. I'm not, in general, often these definitions are equations. In general, they won't take as long to write down. Also, I used a lot of words here just to make something super clear to all of you. You don't have to use all of these words. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, as the sheet tried to make clear one way or the other, distance means the total amount of space that we accumulated throughout some journey or through some process. And again, you don't use my exact words, but I'm saying the point is that distance means all of the space that accumulated throughout this journey, regardless of whether we went forward or backward, plus or minus, whatever, just every chunk of space that got crossed, all added up in a stack. That's what we mean by distance. And that's actually an important thing that we're trying to get across in the sheet and distinguish it from displacement. So a general definition here is the definition of distance. And notice, and I am watching the clock, I know we only have 11 minutes left. Notice, here's a sidebar. I mean, it's a sidebar because it's off the side, but it's crucial, super important what I'm writing down right now. And you may or may not know it from other classes. Okay, quick sidebar, because I am watching the clock. Sorry, quick sidebar. There are two types of, like, we're doing a lot of English right now. We're going to build our equations and all of our physics ultimately looks very mathematical, as you know, and it will in this class, and particularly in 204, it will look super mathematical. But mathematical language is just that. It's a language, and it's a symbolic language that saves a lot of space and time. It's a very, very efficient language, which I love, the mathematical language. But it's just a language that's trying to capture ideas that, first and foremost, many of us hold in our minds in either English or Chinese or Spanish or Hebrew or whatever, right? So we're starting with our intuitive thoughts here in our natural language, and we're converting them into math. That's part of what physics does. So everything will start looking more and more mathematical. I promise you. You might even regret how mathematical it's going to look. And it's going to look like equations more and more, and our definitions are going to be part of equations. But so before we go any further, let me make clear there's two types of equal in the world. And if we can keep them straight, it makes physics a lot easier to keep straight. I don't know why this doesn't come up a lot in a lot of earlier science classes. Like, I think it's super helpful, but please note from here on in, if I use a double equal sign, that means traditional equal by circumstance, condition, or discovery. Like PV equals nRT in chemistry, right? Or I mean, that's one example. Like it works. It turns out we discovered in the world, it seems like when pressure is multiplied by volume, that equals some constant times temperature. So, like, I'm not sure that anyway, we discovered that that's true. And it isn't even exactly or perfectly or always true. It's like approximately generally empirically true. But a triple equal sign means equal by definition. A square triple equal sign, a shape, an equilateral, quadrilateral, a square equals a four-sided shape. That's not because we discovered it. And therefore, we're never going to discover any flaw in that equality. It is perfectly true because it's just true by definition. It's just saying square is a word that we use to substitute for this longer set of words, like right angle rhombus or whatever. So from here on in, we use triple equal signs to mean definitions. That's a very different type of equal sign, and it is a stronger, more reliable equal sign than a double equal sign. So distance, triple equal sign, blah, 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 blah. So generally speaking, step three of your thought process will be some kind of triple equal sign, okay? We first had to write down what distance is to even apply the general notion of distance to this particular problem. Now notice, I know we've got 7 minutes left and I'm still on freaking question 1. I know that. And I know it might be driving some of you crazy, and I do apologize. It's not my goal. But I also want you to see, we're into step 3 of the 5-step method. We haven't even done a calculation yet, let alone gotten an answer. That's important. I want you to know that before you even get an answer to a question, there's at least 3 steps that you can and must do that your brain's got to do, even if you don't do on paper. Your brain had to look at the facts. Your brain had to know what the question was. And your brain had to know what general idea the question was referring to before it applied that general idea to the particular circumstance. What I'm saying is, when we finally get to questions where you don't know what to do, I'm telling you, there's 3 things you can do before you even do a lick of calculations or computations. It's super important to realize there's a big building that can be built before you get to the top. So step 4, okay, so I am watching the clock. Step 4 now is, you could probably miss. Step 4 is where we start finally applying the general principle to the particular circumstance. And we say, step 4 is PAW, particular, like as in a dog, but particular application and work. Okay, this is the step. This is where, okay, and again, I'm trying to speed up a little bit here. Here's the step that people generally think is the showing all work step. This is a step that people try to skip to when they're told they have to show all work, but you can't, but then they don't know what to do if they don't know what to do, because you don't know what work to do unless you know what work to do. So here's where what we do is we actually apply the general principle to the particular circumstance. The general principle was something that was true even before we opened up the problem. Now we apply it. We say, okay, here, so here, for example, the distance here, double equal sign. Right now, I'm going to take that notion of distance. I'm going to apply it to this circumstance. I'm going to say here it equals then presumably, what is it? Oh yeah, yes. You're sorry, 6 feet plus 6 feet. I'll even be better. Sorry, I'll even, if you're really paying attention to the sheet, it's probably even better. I'm going to say the distance equals the absolute value of -6 feet, right? You see what I'm saying? Plus the absolute value of +6 feet, plus the absolute value of negative. Is that right? Yeah. I mean, I don't have my diagram right in front, but right, he went like this, then he went like that, and then he went like that. So what is the distance? It was the absolute value of that -6 plus the absolute value of that +6 plus the absolute value of the 9, and that all equals 21 feet, right? That, and again, you might not have written all this out on paper, but you have to admit, all of this had to have been going through your mind if you got the answer right. So what we're trying to do now is we're saying, if you thought this answer was really obvious, it was really obvious because you're really smart and your mind ran through a movie so fast, a movie of thoughts so fast that you thought it was just a photograph. Your mind went through a bunch of steps so fast that you were like, I just know this. And you just got to the end. But I'm saying, well, no, actually, that's how smart you are. You went through a series of steps so quickly, you didn't even think of them as steps, maybe. But I'm saying, slow down that movie and put it on paper for me and for you, because that movie that your mind went through, that's the movie it's got to go through when it actually doesn't know something immediately. It's got to go through that same sequence. So this is the sequence we go through. We're slowing down the movie of your thoughts, putting them on paper so that we've got a movie to rely on later on when the thoughts don't come as quickly. Okay, so that was step 4. I know we have 3 minutes. So now you can imagine where step 5 is finally. Step 5. And again, I know I've taken a lot. You won't take you this long to do this. It won't. But step 5 is FAC as in fact. Step 5 is FAC. What does that stand for? Well, yeah, it does kind of stand for fact, but what it really is final, answer, circle. Now I'm running a rule, so I'm going to make it clear on the next page. So the last thing you do is you make the final answer and you circle it. And the final answer is a thought. It is the answer to a question. It's a complete thought, meaning the final answer here is something like, and it will usually look like an equation. It won't usually have English in it once we're really rolling, but here it has a little English because we don't have symbols yet. The final answer is something like this: total distance equals 21. And it has a complete thought, has an equal sign in it. It has a reference to the original question. Like the original question is, what's the total distance? The final answer is the total distance equals 21 feet. And it has units of measurement because like it's science, right? So our final answer is not 21. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the chat. I see there's something good in the chat. Wait. That's a great question. Someone in the direct chat just asked, do I want us to wait until I grade the homework to make corrections? You know, that's a great question. No, I don't need to wait. If you feel like you just learned something from this, or whether you're happy or angry, if you feel like you now get what I'm asking and you want to rush to like fix your thing before I even see your original, go ahead. That's totally fine. Great question, and that's totally fine. Or you can wait till you get it back. That's fine too. I'll say I'm going to take that, since we only have 1 minute, I'm going to take that question to mean that you think it's sort of clear what I'm saying, which would be great. Let me say also, again, this whole method is developed. I've been doing this for 30 years, folks, okay? And I know physics because I've done it the physics that I know. The physics that I know because I've done so many times, not because I'm smarter than any of you or because it came easy to me the first time. It didn't. But what I've learned is how to take the hard physics and break it down and to make it easier. This is how. So what I'm quickly saying before the class actually runs out is, this is what I want. You can redo before I grade. You can redo it after I grade. Everybody can get a 20 on this homework for sure. But I'm also saying, in general, if you ever revise any homework at all, what I recommend, even if you think you're too embarrassed that you don't want me to see your first pass, you can make a note, say, don't read my first thing. But if you do a revision, post in the revision, don't remove your old thing. Don't do it. You can write me a note and say, don't read my old thing. Believe me, I won't. I'll respect it. I got other things to do with my life. If you tell me I'm too embarrassed, don't read my old thing, here's my new thing. I will respect that, but you might as well leave it up, because don't you want me to see how many revisions you're doing? Don't you want me to see how hard you're working and that you're willing to improve me? And I'm serious about this. Never erase your old work. If you want me not to look at it, I get it, although we should talk about that too. And I won't. But if you revise this and you do this homework twice, you deserve the credit for me to at least one moment see that visually, that you've done the homework twice. Okay, so if any of you wants to revise it, please do. Again, I know it takes a little more work to do it my way. I think it's worth it. But the last thing I'm saying, wait, it's 1:30. The last thing I'm saying is, yeah, is that your final answer is circled in the end of the day. Even if you do all these methods, your final answer could be wrong every time, and you'll still get the overwhelming bulk of points, if not all of them. And that includes on exams. If you follow these methods, then you won't be as much premium on the ultimate answer that you're not sure if it's right or wrong. But also the probability that your final answer is right is so much higher if you do these steps. Okay, so I know I've gone over. I'm just going to say, it's one to. Oh, okay, I think. Oh, so someone just asked, yeah, you can redo this before. You don't have to wait for good question. You can redo this before I grade. Perfectly fine. Either way, up to you. Just don't remove your old thing. Just tell me which one you want me to grade. Honestly, okay. But all right, I'm going to wait to see if there's any questions. But I'm good. If you guys are good, the YouTube thing. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. But you can hang out if there's a question or two or whatever. But thank you guys.
Have a good day, Professor.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You too. Have a good day.
Have a good one.
Bye. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Bye. Thank you. Awesome.